Appraisal issues? Fraud issues? What in the world is next?
Something is always invading our business.
Hello everybody, my name is Barry Horvath and this is Moving Forward TV with your local market update.
And I am DeLynn Gaston. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, you know, one of the things that we have been noticing, and I'm sure you guys have too, fraud is on the rise. Our IT people have been sending us some emails on it and some sample stuff that has been going on. So you are real estate partners out there. We kind of want to give you guys a heads up too. You know, for a while it seems like it went away, right?
It never went away. We just saw less of it.
Yeah, and maybe we heard less about it.
You see it in the signature lines of all of your title companies now. But spoofing, as they call it, is extremely on the rise. And what spoofing simply is they mimic some person that you are doing business with. Mainly, they prey on title companies and they pretend they are someone else. It'll be a false email address it's coming from, but it appears to be from that person you're working with on a title company. And they intercept information about a transaction closing happening. They change the phone numbers on the signature line, so when you call back, you may not get an answer. The person that is actually spoofing might even say in their email, hey, I'm going to be really busy with closings today, so email is best to get me. You might not get me on the phone. Just anything they can do to deter you from calling and verifying that wire information. So we're seeing a lot of it. It's on the rise. Beware of it. And believe it or not, there's liability on all parts. So you as a real estate professional, you as a buyer, and the title companies all have a responsibility to educate people, especially our first-time buyers, because we live in, I grew up in a trusting household.
Right.
You know, my mom and dad had a business here forever, and literally when people took stuff home that they couldn't afford to pay for in their store, they would write it down in a notepad and stick it up on a clipboard, and they would come pay them the next Friday. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
Isn't that nice? Remember those days?
Yeah, I do. And you know what? There's still a lot of good. There's still great people with integrity here on this earth.
Know.
They really are. But unfortunately, the ones that are trying to scam
have infiltrated heavily.
Yeah, and those are the ones you hear about.
And especially in the real estate industry.
Yeah, it's
sad.
sad.
Because there's a lot of money, right? Let's face it, there's a lot of money that changes hands between, real estate, title, mortgage. So we're just telling you, one of the samples yet lately that we were talking about, it was actually caught by a realtor. So you guys, be on the lookout. Somebody is trying to email your client to tell them, oh, hey, wiring instructions are here. We really need this money. If you can wire it by 3 o'clock, they put some urgency to it and things. And again, they make it look so good. They make it, maybe the phone number's off by 1 digit. No one, on one of the samples that we saw, they even have the person's picture exactly like it looked like it came exactly from this title company. We had the real one and the fake one side by side, and really you can barely tell the difference unless you are seriously looking for it. So please look for it.
Yeah, I mean, keep your eyes and ears open, be alert, verify. Don't call the number on the signature line. Go ahead and just, know if you know the phone number, that's great, use it. Don't call the phone number on the signature
Otherwise,
line.
Google it.
Look at Google it, verify.
I tell my clients that as well. When the title company is telling you, if you get any kind of email or whatever saying, about wiring instructions, don't call the phone number that's on the bottom of that email. Google the phone number.
Yes.
ABC Title Company or whatever. Google the phone number so that you get, you get to the right right place.
And we can talk about that till we're blue in the face, but I just
I
feel like
know.
the message needs to be out there. Everybody talk about it. Don't be afraid. Don't assume anything anymore, because like I said, there's liability on all parties' parts here. I
Right.
mean, we carry, in our title company, we have special insurance for it, but you don't ever want to use that.
No.
Because it's,
No.
yeah, it's not pretty. It's not pretty, so anyway.
The other thing that used to be on the rise was appraisal fraud, and I know last week we talked about some appraisal red flags that Jane Platt from the mortgage firm had given us in our those of you who were able to attend our lunch and learn, and we kind of like skimmed through some of this stuff, and we really thought afterward, this is a lot of really good information, and some of the stuff we just skimmed over, so we kind of wanted to go through it a little bit deeper.
We probably need to dig in a little deeper, because one of the biggest fears on any transaction right now, we all know that the market is hot. It's on fire. But, and people are putting escalation clauses in.
I know.
People are buying properties sight unseen, putting offers in. And really, you have to understand what is an appraisal red flag. What can kill the deal? And I know realtors love cash transactions because they feel like nothing can ever go wrong. But that's not true either. But the appraiser can be your best friend or your worst friend. But if you as a real estate professional know what to address and educate your sellers, you may save a deal. You might, address it up front. And if nothing else, you can save on inspection dollars to your buyer, because every time when something's wrong and that appraiser has to go back out, there is a reinspection fee that the buyer is responsible for. So I've seen the dumbest things for a reinspection that could have been prevented. Like my favorite is, the appraiser can't turn the electric on. They're not allowed to.
Or the water. They're not allowed to.
They're not allowed, even though the listing agent will say, well, it's on, you just had to turn the knob, or you just had to hit the breaker. They are not allowed to do that. That's a liability, because they don't know if they turn that breaker box on that something could short out. Maybe the power
spark and start a fire or something.
So
or the water, maybe there's a leaky pipe somewhere that's, all of a sudden it's going to be like spewing.
And I know it doesn't happen as much in this market, but I hate to say shame on you if you don't have the power and water on before the inspection. So, sometimes people are vacate a property. Make sure that they are on before they go, okay? So, simple little tip there. Save your buyer money and save time.
So, and backing up just a quick second, one of the reasons that they can't do that is because of all the fraud. Now, years ago, with all of those foreclosed properties that were going on, there was a lot of homes that really were like put together with Band-Aids practically. So so the appraisers, were getting sued and things like that for things. So in any event, over 10 years ago, they instituted HVCC, Home Value Code of Conduct. No, we cannot pick an appraiser. It is random. So yes, sometimes you get good appraisers and sometimes you get not so good appraisers. We can challenge those appraisers. We as a lender and you as the realtor, we can certainly challenge those appraisers. Right now, the way the market is, some of them are coming in overvalue, which is surprising us. Some of them are coming in undervalue because they've bid over asking price. It's going to take a little while for that to catch up, for the appraisers to catch up with how fast the market's going up. It's like, comps are changing like every 24 hours, it seems.
Would you want to be an appraiser right now?
No, and that's the other thing. Appraisals are taking a while. Please, please, please give them time. So we are as a state of Florida, we are one of the heaviest states that people are moving to. We did a show on that a couple of weeks ago. And we're understaffed for appraisers, just pretty much statewide. We don't have enough appraisers. They're working their buns off.
And I'll tell you, to become an appraiser today, it's not easy. They require a college degree now, and then 2 years as an apprentice before you can ever do your first appraisal on your own.
So it's not like you can just, let's hire more appraisers.
So
there aren't any out there.
Yeah, you got to want to do it.
So give them time. the 60-day contract or the 30-day contracts are a little bit tight sometimes, depending. We're doing our best to hit them, but please guide your sellers that shorter than that is more likely than not going to happen unless you got a cash deal and they're not getting an appraisal. Right. But appraisals are taking upwards of like 2 weeks these days. And so please factor that in.
And one more thing that comes up, remember, if your buyer offers over asking price, your lender will only lend on the appraised value or the contract price, whichever is less. Now, if your buyer's putting down, say, 40% or 30%, it may not have any impact other than possibly the rate for the buyer on a finance property. But if they're only putting down 5 or 10% and the appraisal doesn't come in, then the buyer has to come up with the cash difference or the seller has to lower the property price. Just remember that going in. And it's great if you get over asking, but it must appraised on a finance transaction or it can have implications. And I know a lot of people now are putting in those, no appraisal contingencies.
I know,
and
to try and get the
property. If someone's putting
I
down
understand.
a low amount, they probably didn't have the money to come up with the difference. I'm just saying. Or they would have put more money down to begin with. But
right.
So keep that in mind. All right, let's touch on these red flags real quick. I know. The ones we covered last week that we wanted to just brush over.
Always mean as is.
Your as-is appraisal doesn't mean there's no repairs needed.
Bottom of page 1, those of you realtors who like getting a copy of the appraisal and looking at it, bottom of page 1, that's where you're going to see if the appraiser has put down any repairs that might be necessary or suggested, as they say. Oh, well, it might only cost $500, but the carpet is, loose here, that kind of a thing. So that's where you're going to find that.
Remember, special assessments do count into the borrower's DTI. HOA dues, even though they're not part of the mortgage payment, they still can affect the borrower's qualification. So, and I love the way you say this. I say it every time now. We qualify people on payment, not on price. We do not know when we pre-qualify somebody what the HOA is, what the taxes are. And forget about the insurance prices. They've gone up so much. We can guess, but we qualify on a total payment.
And you know what? I think we're going to do a show on that.
Yeah,
let's do a show on that, how to qualify.
So important.
And I've got this amazing spreadsheet. I mean, I do it by hand on a calculator because I've been doing it for 100 years, but I have this amazing spreadsheet that we would even be able to share with realtors if they would like, that really kind of like walk them through exactly how we come up with what we come up with.
I do it on my head.
I know, he does. He does it in his head.
I can be
and I'm
really
sitting
close.
here doing it on my calculator, and we come up with like almost the same thing. So,
but I mean, self-employed borrowers is a little different. Rental properties, it's a little different, a little more. But
all right, next thing on our list was the solar panels and such, and we did talk a lot about that. I remember we talked a lot about that last week. You know what? It really depends on those, and we can pretty much do a whole show on that. Is it? Do we give it value or do we not give it value? And it all depends on if they're owned, and most of the time they have to be paid off.
Yep, and I love the next one, internal or functional obsolescence. Is there something funky about the floor plan? We talked about that. So those are red flags. Okay, let's move forward. External obsolescence.
Is there something funky about the property?
Yeah, about the location itself. Is it really... is it near train tracks? Is it near an airport, right next door? Nuclear plant?
Right. Hint, hint. Is there an impact to marketability?
Yeah, because fire station, you would think that would help it, but I mean, do you want to live
Sirens
somewhere?
going off at 2 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. And these are things that the appraiser is required to notate in the appraisal. Again, it's not going to stop your purchase from going through. Just some things that the underwriters are looking. This is what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are looking for. That's what she put in here.
If those notations are there, they may need to be addressed. Health issues noticed, meeting black mold, septic, water concerns. And there's certain repairs, we do the escrow holdback, which has become very popular for roofs right now. because of the
And we
cost for
cannot do
insurance.
it on safety issues.
Yeah, so you
Safety
cannot-
issues must
which
be
means-
completed prior to closing.
Which means if your seller doesn't want to come up with the money or have the money, but they have the equity, we can hold back money to help them with repairs, and they get
Providing they're not safety or health
exactly
repairs,
But we
because
can
those
do
have
it-
to be.
We can do it for a lot of things, though. Roof and AC are the two big ones. Hot water heater, but a roof, sometimes that escrow holdback really makes sense for people because they're
We're doing a lot of them lately.
The insurance cost with a new roof pays for itself.
And hint, hint, not a lot of lenders do those.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
Trigger words on red flags.
That
Poor
was-
condition.
Gee, DeLynn, that was subtle.
Let's leave that right here, because I don't think you want mine, which was from the daiquiri deck.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, red flags to look for on an appraisal. The words poor condition, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Does not conform, that's a problem. Cannot be rebuilt to current use. That's a big problem. That
Yep.
means if something
you-
happens,
If you see that verbiage on your appraisal report,
we got a big problem.
we got Houston, we got a problem.
And again, look what Jane says on here. She says, these are just some examples that need to be addressed ASAP. It doesn't mean we can't do the property. It means let's talk about it.
Yes.
I got to say, we have one of the most liberal teams
Yes.
in our corporate headquarters. They are looking for ways to help you guys make this
And-
closing take place.
And I just want to clarify, when we say we mean the industry. Like our team is,
No, I mean our team.
I know you meant our team in these. We want to close loans, and our team does
Our
want to
team
do
is
that.
amazing.
But remember, like in general, the things we present to you are Fannie Mae,
Yeah.
Freddie Mac, FHA, VA
Guidelines and rules, yeah.
guidelines that every lender, no matter who you go to, the big bank, box banks, whoever they are, they're going to have the same rules and guidelines. The difference, like DeLynn is pointing out, is that we have ways to make it work. How's that?
There you go. I
Is
like
that
that.
clear?
We
Okay,
we
good.
look for workarounds.
Yes. Okay.
Actively look for
Not that we're
workarounds.
breaking
Okay.
any rules ever.
All right. The other thing that we wanted to talk about was manufactured homes, because those are definitely on the rise too. It
Yeah.
seems people can't find regular houses, so they're really leaning towards the manufactured homes. So a lot more of those are becoming popular right now. Some of the red flags, some of the things that we need on those, the data plates, that's one of the biggies. There are two, usually one on the outside of the unit and then one on the inside.
And the
Normally
appraiser's
they
gonna
put
look
it.
for it.
The appraiser has to look for it. It's part of their job. It's part of the appraisal. The other one, just so that you guys all know, is usually on the kitchen cabinet, somewhere on the inside of one of the kitchen cabinets. That's where you will find the second one. It is not a metal plate. That is not what we're looking for. It is a piece of paper that hopefully nobody scraped off or whatever, the one on the inside. And guess what? If it is not there, we need to order again. Red flags right up front. Tell us right up front if it has both data plates or not, because if it does not, don't let us wait 2 to 3 weeks for an appraisal to come in to find out, oh, it didn't have the second data plate. So we need, there are workarounds. We have to order what's called an IBITS letter. You guys don't need to worry about that, but we can handle
you
it.
spell that, please?
But if we know it up front, we can order it up front, because sometimes that can take up to 10 days to get.
Have you noticed that everything in our world is an acronym?
Yes, the mortgage industry, I tell you what, is like the biggest for acronyms.
And what's so funny is you start speaking that language.
I know.
And you're talking to your buyers or sellers.
I
And
know.
they're like, huh? What are
I
you
try
talking
and be very careful with
Yeah,
that, with
yeah, and I do it too,
explaining it,
because it's how
and
we
I,
speak.
And I tell the girls the same thing, our team, when they say something like EMD. A first-time home buyer has no idea what an EMD is, so I tell them, spell it out. You
Yeah.
know that $1,000 you gave to the title company? Yeah, that. I need a copy of the check.
Yeah, there you go.
So, all right, so that's on manufactured homes. The
Let-
data plates are a
Let's
biggie.
touch again on private roads. Remember, that's a red flag. If there's an access issue to the property, a private road, that can be definitely a red flag. And then
What's not on here that I did want to touch on too is well and septic.
Yes.
Especially with a lot of manufactured homes, because they're kind of out in the country, and a lot of times it's well and septic. So just so that you know, and it doesn't make a difference, whether it's a manufactured home or whether it's a regular house. If you have well and septic, they should be inspected. VA absolutely positively requires a water test. For everybody else, I think it's highly recommended. For the septic, I think it's highly recommended. But keep in mind, they all have certain setback requirements. You cannot have your well and your septic next to each other. That's a problem.
That's a red flag.
That's a big red flag.
It's a red
There are
flag.
certain setback requirements. They have to be so far
Yep.
apart, and they have to be so far away from a property line. That, you can't have your well sitting right at the end of your driveway, on top of the road. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then again, on access, if you are entering through someone else's property to get your property, that's a red flag.
And, we're going through these red flags, not so that, when the appraisal comes up, but these are some of the things, if you guys can look for ahead of time when you're out there looking at the property and stuff, and call us. We'll send this to you.
Yes.
Call us or whatever. Say, hey, I've got a well that's like, right on the property line for the next door neighbor. Is that going to be a problem? And let's talk about it, okay?
Good stuff.
The
Good
sooner we
stuff.
find out about these things,
Yes.
that gives us more time to resolve the issue, okay? So we can go forward.
Let's talk about some of the other safety issue red flags real
I know.
quick.
We
And
wanted
I
to
know-
show you guys some of the pictures
I
of
wanna,
some stuff that we've seen.
So, one of the things that happens is, and we talk about it happens a lot in Florida in the summer because all the rain, all of the heat, strong sun, pools can turn green like that.
Yes.
And if you have a pool in ground, above ground, whatever, and the bottom cannot be seen, it's going to be a red flag. So that pool,
Regardless of loan type,
Yes.
people say, oh, it's only on FHA.
Not
No,
true, not
conventional
true.
is not going to like it either. If you can't see the bottom of it, conventional is not going to like that
it's going
either.
to be a problem. And you can't just say, well, we don't use the pool. So
Right.
one of the things is that you can, if the pool is not being utilized, like we're showing here in the picture, you can secure it. If it is permanently secured and
Like
covered.
this one is,
Yes.
and even fenced off.
With straps. Now, what that means is, can you put a tarp over it and some bricks on the corner? No. It has to be some kind of permanent type strapping that you would put on it.
And keep in mind, if you do that, that is no longer a pool home.
Right.
If the appraiser can't say that this is a functioning pool, then he cannot count it as a pool home.
There's no value. So,
There's no value given to it because they're basically taking the pool kind of out of the mix.
yes. So, again, just be aware of it. Make sure the pool's functioning. Let your seller know that, and let your buyers know that when they're looking at a home. Hey, that pool could be a challenge.
Right.
If you see a yucky pool, yeah, it's probably not going to work. All right.
The next one is wood rot.
Wood rot. And
underneath
again,
the deck.
Not an FHA thing.
No.
It's
this
all
is-
loans.
Yeah.
All loans because of it being a safety issue.
Somebody
If-
could fall through.
If you see
so-
wood rot like this, it's going to be a concern. If someone's going to fall through the deck they're walking on and there's wood rot and the appraiser sees it, notes it, it's going to be a problem. Do we require a home inspection? No, we do
No.
not. The lender does not require a home inspection. Your insurance company might want one for the wind mitigation for a discount insurance, and the buyer should have a home inspection for their own protection to find things like this wood rot that they maybe didn't see. But if the appraiser notes it, it's going to have to be addressed.
And this could be an as-is appraisal, but the appraiser is going to note it in the comments. However, there is some wood rot on the deck. If an underwriter sees that, it's probably going to have
And-
to get fixed because it's a safety issue.
And-
Just keep
and-
that in mind.
Let's stress that. It has to be fixed. You can't just go back to the seller and say, well, it's going to cost $500 to fix this wood rot, so we'll just deduct it from the price. No, if you want
Safety issue.
If you want to close the loan, you have to fix and address any safety concerns. I love that.
I know.
I love that.
Next, we have, this is just kind of like shows fair condition and such. Fair is not so fair in the mortgage world. This is a
Yeah.
financed property. They don't really like fair. Fair is just kind of not so, you can see it says, I don't know if you guys can read that or not, subject is in fair condition, overall updates being needed and some repairs. Appraiser observed prior fire damage in the case in the attic. A home inspection is attached and also found damage. Appraiser is not a structural expert and no warranty is made with regards to the fire damage, its repair, sealing, or any other impact. What do you think the underwriter is going to say when she reads that?
Problem. Red flag.
Red flag.
Red flag.
So, again, if you guys know about stuff ahead of time,
Address
if you
it.
tell us ahead of time, we can address it up front. I would send something like that to my property desk right away, even before getting the appraisal. Hey, this house had a prior fire, blah, 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 blah. Here's, some pictures from the home inspection. Are we going to have some issues with this?
Right.
So
All
just
right,
tell us ahead of time. We'll
our
work
next
on
picture
it.
is on some things that could seem obvious, but things like a broken window. If you see this or this type of damage on your ceiling, that is going to be a red flag. So
And just because you cover up the window doesn't mean
no,
that
you
that's
cannot
fine.
throw. Yeah, I don't know. Can you throw a board up?
No.
So anyway,
And then, Rob, if you can switch to the next screen, I know we're running out of time here. Go to the next one, because that again talks about the term and stuff. So the windows, if we go to the next one, shows the difference between a cracked window and a broken window. Needless to say, ta-da, broken window is a broken window. That could be a safety issue. Somebody could lean on that window and it could break all the way and slice somebody's.
Wood rot in the
Right.
door frame could be a problem on all types of appraisals. Again, safety issue. And if the air handler looks in apparent poor condition.
And right, that air handler does look in poor condition there. It's
Yeah,
in a closet,
yeah.
kind of. So you know what?
Safety.
And the reason why, again, we're bringing these things to your attention is you guys see the house first, right? You
Yeah.
guys see the house before us. You guys see the house before
We
the
don't see it.
appraiser. We don't see it at all most
No,
of the time.
we just see the numbers. So, all right, let's talk about upcoming events. So much on, reach out to us on appraisal stuff. So if you have any questions. August 10th is a big day for us because we are coming back live and in person.
Our lunch
So
and
if
learn.
you are a real estate professional, you need to come. We're live at Carrabba's in Port Richey. It'll start at 11:30, and we have a special speaker this month. It's our property appraiser for the county. Mr. Mike Wells will be there as our guest speaker. He's going to educate you all on a lot of the things going on here countywide, on valuations, homesteads, portability, all of your questions that you need to know for your sellers on property taxes. So, and your
coming back
buyers.
with a bang.
Yeah, so-
And there's no cost to you. We buy you lunch.
Yes, so
and
come
it's
on,
Carrabba's.
come on down, join us 11:30, August 10th. It's Tuesday. Please RSVP. That's all we got.
That's it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We appreciate you. We are today and every day.
Moving forward, don't forget, share us. Have a great week.